Hi-Fi Rush may be the biggest surprise of 2023. Yes, I know that it's early in the year, but let's be real. The amount of games that get announced at a showcase and then shadow dropped that same day is few and far between, and that's exactly what happened to Hi-Fi Rush. But it's one thing to be the biggest surprise of the year. It's another thing to be the biggest surprise of the year while also still being a Game of the Year contender. And that's what Microsoft has delivered here with Hi-Fi Rush. If you like Japanese anime, if you have an open mind, if you like action games like Devil May Cry, you will enjoy Hi-Fi Rush. It is impossible not to, as this game is literally that damn good. Playing on PC, once you fire up the game, going into the options, you'll find that there is your prototypical settings available for adjustment to get the game to run properly on your rig. There is also something in the sound for streamers to silence the licensed music and use unlicensed music, therefore you don't get DMCA strikes. I mean, it's got everything here. But the important takeaway from this is that this game is a polished gem. It ran flawlessly on my rig. I had no bugs, no glitches, no crashes, nothing like that. This feels like a fully complete product, which is great, especially considering it was shadow dropped. When you get into the first stage of the game, you'll find that the first stage of it at least, is entirely a tutorial. It is a mandatory tutorial. It goes over the nooks and crannies of every aspect of this game. I spoke about how the game is kind of like Devil May Cry. It is, but it's rhythmic. In a sense, something like Metal Hellsinger or any other rhythm-based game where you need to stay in rhythm. The good news is that the developers have tuned the rhythm aspect of the game to make it so that it's actually not necessary. So if you're somebody such as myself who's not very good at staying in a rhythm, you can play the game and have a good time and not have to worry about it. On the flip side of it, there is meaningful benefits to being in a rhythm. Abilities get stronger, they deal more damage, and they have nice finishes. On top of this, you also get a higher score, which will improve the replayability down the road for those who prefer to chase higher scores. On top of this, the game does feature 4 difficulty settings, so it can be tuned to your own skill set. So if you want a more challenging or less challenging experience, that is also an option for you. But the one key takeaway that I find with this game's gameplay is particularly with how the game constantly gives you something new as you progress. The game, it features 12 stages. It took me just under 10 hours to finish, and every stage gives you something new that you haven't seen before, all the way through to the end. Whether it's something in the game story with one of the characters or a new gameplay mechanic. As you play through the game, you'll have one stage that might have a side-scrolling section. Another stage, you're on rails dodging objects. Another stage, you will sit there and have to do a parry battle where the only way to escape is to parry the enemy's attacks and therefore killing the enemy. The game is literally filled with things that are constantly new and introducing new mechanics to the player to keep the gameplay loop fresh. Never at any point during this game was I bored because, the loop got repetitive or anything like that. The game never feels repetitive in any way, shape, or form. Even the enemies that you encounter as you go along. Yes, they're all robots, but they all have different strategies, different strengths, different weaknesses, and as you progress, you will see that you will need different tactics to employ to deal with different enemies. Of course, this also corresponds with the boss battles. Every boss is different than the other, and they're very good boss fights. I'm not going to go dive into the details of the bosses for spoiler reasons, but the one boss that I did show on screen is the first boss of the game, and that is just the tip of the iceberg. There is so many other unique boss encounters, both in terms of how you play the encounter and the design of the bosses themselves. And that's a testament to one of the things that this game does really, really well, is the design. I said at the beginning of the video that this game is like playing an animation. If you like Japanese animation, or if you have an open mind, you will love this game because the art style and design of their characters is fantastic. It is really, really good. As someone who likes Japanese anime myself, this game was a blast to play. In between stages, you also have your hideout. Your hideout is where you'll interact with other friendly NPCs as well as upgrade your character with new abilities and stats. New abilities and stats come in the form of new attacks, new combos. You can add new passives to your character, increase your health, increase your combo gauge, etc. There is a whole bunch of upgrades that you can go. And again, this is a part of the game where it's kind of like Ratchet and Clank, where you will go around collecting, I believe it's gears or materials. It's very similar to Ratchet and Clank, where you collect the stuff and then you use the currency to purchase the upgrades for your character. Overall, the game, in terms of gameplay wise, this game hit all the boxes. Now, the one thing I will talk about when it comes to the gameplay, that it was the only negative that I had about the gameplay in this game, was the jumping. In my opinion, the jumping in this game felt off. I don't know if it was because the main character's base movement speed was lower than what I'm used to, or maybe it's just a me thing, but something about the jumping in this game felt a little off, and it was the only issue I had with its gameplay. It's just I'm not stupid. I'm not terrible at platforming, but I'm pretty decent at it. And it was a little weird. It wasn't that it was hard, but it was weird because just of how the jump mechanic worked. It was very difficult at times to gauge whether or not you were going to overshoot or undershoot a jump. And that was the only issue I had. It pertains to the game's story, however. The story of this game is very, very basic in the sense of you're basically a hero against a major enemy corporation. That's basically the gist of it without getting into spoilers. But it's once you get through the game and you see the characters. The characters are what carry the story. The characters, their motives for doing what they're doing and how they interact and clash with one another is what really drives the story forward and what will give you a satisfying conclusion once you finish the story. But that's the thing. When you finish the story, though, that's not the end of the game. You unlock a new difficulty mode. You can revisit any of the levels that you have, go for any items that you have missed, chase a higher score, and upon completing the game, there are certain doors that you couldn't access before that you can now access to continue your time with this game. But overall, I loved this game. I thought it was great. I think it's definitely in conversation of Game of the Year, and it should not be missed by anyone who has access to Xbox or Xbox Game Pass. Overall, I'm giving Hi-Fi Rush a 9.5 out of 10. This is definitely one that should not be missed. This is Veteran Gamer, and I hope to see you guys next time.